because I still don't know. Hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of this is episode 55. Episode 55 of the Hot Stove Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Nunez, here with Mark, Josh, and Austin, the usual suspects. Housekeeping, before we start, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Hot Stove Pod. That's at Hot Stove Pod on Twitter. YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell to know when we put out new shit.
Is this an After Dark episode?
No.
Keep your shirt on.
Keep your shirt on for today.
Oh, man.
No, this is not an After Dark episode. That was like the quickest open ever, by the way. We're only like 45 seconds in. Anyways, got a couple things to get into today, you know? Also, this morning, Josh and I did radio. We talked about the NBA All-Star Game. Make sure to tune in next week when we talk on radio again. WQAQ 9 a.m. every Tuesday. Other stuff that's going on. I'm writing for Grapevine Media now. You can find it in my Twitter bio at ZachN1999 on Twitter. I just posted a review of the new Jackass movie a couple days ago. So go and read that if you want. If you're here from the Grapevine site, because I have a bio on the site that has the YouTube channel and all of the recent videos on it. If you're from the Grapevine site and you're just now watching this, welcome.
I thought you said if you're from the Grapevine shot, I'll be shocked.
I would be kind of shocked. That's true. That is true. But if you are here from there, cool. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Hope you'll stick around. We got a pretty fun topic today, so it should be good. But before we get into that topic, we do have a couple things to go over. Oh, Mark, do you want to plug the thing you put out today?
Oh, yeah. I wrote for Sports Fan Unlimited. I wrote the definitive top 25 NBA players of all time. That's all over my Twitter account at marker_box. So check that out. It's the right list. Your takes are wrong. Mine are correct.
Funny.
And we'll move on.
Because you probably left the best basketball player of all time off your list.
Yeah, he probably had like Elvin Hayes number 2 or something like that.
I did
not read it,
What'd you say?
You didn't get to it?
No, I haven't gotten to it. I as we've said before you showed up, I've been writing a paper for the last 5 hours, so I have not had the time to.
It sounds miserable, yeah.
I just finished though. I finished right before we hopped on here, so we're good. Anyways, we're gonna do some FanDuel stuff. A couple weeks ago, we did Waste Management Open, so we wanted to go over that. Josh came in last, 404 points. Yeah. Mark came in third with 415. Austin had 460 in second place, big gap there, and then another big gap. I won with 529 points. So
it was bad.
Shout out to me.
Impressive performance.
There's still
Josh, you have to go put your lineup in for the one for this week.
Yeah, I know the model's not out yet, dude. So
oh my god, yeah, the model definitely did you right last time. You know, you definitely did great with the model last time.
It's so weird because the first time he did the model, I found him on there. He did a what you should bet straight betting thing, but then also for FDS or DFS. So I was like, oh, this is great. So when we do our free contests, I can just plug in the best model that I have, and then that's just not what
right. Happened. But obviously the model didn't work, so just go put your lineup in, and we'll get to you in a moment. All right.
Okay.
So we did lineups again for the Honda Classic this weekend, a prestigious tournament.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Austin, why don't you start and give us your lineup for the Honda Classic this weekend?
All right. This is a pretty solid lineup. I'll leave the best for last. We'll start with my throwaway guy. You know, there's one guy in the betting industry who taught me sometimes people are duped, you know? And this guy's 1-9 in cuts. He's terrible at golf. Terrible. But he's due. This is his 10th event. Dowie Vanderwall.
Has he made the cut in a single event this season?
He has made one cut. Let me find it. Well, okay. Technically, he's made 2 cuts, but the cut, he did make the cut on February 3rd. He just withdrew in the middle of the third round, so they didn't count it.
That was a Pebble. He made it a Pebble.
Is that fellow minimum priced?
Yes,
Yeah,
he is minimum priced.
Okay.
That saved me room for my next slate of people here. My middle guys here, I'll call them, because these, they might be the most expensive, but they're not my best golfers. Okay. So we got Sung Jae Im, highest priced guy on the slate, 100 points per game. Guy's dominant. Guy's going to go out. He's going to get a top 10. Who cares if he wins? He wins. It doesn't matter. He's just going to go out. He's going to do his thing. Same thing with this guy, Joaquin Niemann. Another guy who's just incredibly consistent. So I expect him to be a top 20 guy, get me the points I need. And then these are my two dark horses to win the event. We got dark horses is really a stupid word because they're probably like top 10 in odds. But Tommy Fleetwood, he hasn't played much this season, but good golfer, gets hot, and we're looking for him to get hot here. Along with Matthew Wolff. He's not very good at golf. I don't care what anyone says. His swing sucks, and if his swing was good, he'd be good at golf, but it's not, so he sucks. But the guy, he wins. Whether he's good or not, he wins. Wins is speculative. He doesn't actually win the event, but he finishes well. How's that?
He competes.
He's a true competitor. He's got the attitude you want of a guy on tour. He's had 2 pretty poor performances in a row. And that's what I like to see in a guy. He's due. That's the theme of my guy. And then the best guy on my slate tonight, he is unbelievable. He may have missed his last cut way back in November. But Koepka's going to take this one home. Chase Koepka. Who? Chase Koepka? Yeah, he is averaging -3 points per game here on this FanDuel app. But
there's an actual person named Chase Koepka on tour?
It's Brooks' brother.
Okay.
Dude.
But Chase Koepka is inspired this evening. He's going to make the cut, and who cares what happens after that?
Is that it? Is that the end of your lineup?
Yeah.
Austin, how much money do you have left over?
$100.
Okay, maybe I missed the
Sung Jae
top 3 guys you put in there.
Neiman, Fleetwood, and Wolf are 4 of the top 6 priced guys.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Could I? I'm sorry. Could I go next?
Yes.
I just have. So, our I got in all 6 of mine before Austin said anybody. Let's start off here with a nice value pick, all right? Going with the brothers tandem this week. Who else but Chase Koepka?
Yeah!
These two, they got to be paired up, clearly similar ranking. He's somehow played in an event this year, and like Austin mentioned before me, he's averaging -3 fantasy points per event, which is, I've never even seen that. That's actually pretty impressive.
Some would say he's
due. That's impeccable. So then we'll go to the other end of things. And like I said, it's a brothers tandem. So we got Brooks, Koepka here. If Lil Bro can't get it done, Big Bro will be right behind him, hobbling on one knee to get it done. Maybe he'll care to win this one. Second highest priced. If he's taking the time to come over here from the European Tour, he's trying to win this thing. It's none other than Tommy Fleetwood. Tommy Fleetwood is just an all-star golfer, and he's got the hair that'll make your chick wetter than the tsunami in the middle of Japan in 2005. Okay.
Jesus.
Oh.
What? I'm trying to get specific. And then 4th here, he's got one of the wackiest swings in all of golf. Yeah. 10,600. This is not a coincidence. It's Matt Wolff. Okay, Matt Wolff at 10-6. What a great lineup I got going so far. It is truly unique. Next highest price in his first event of the tour this year. with what might be one of my new favorite names on tour, Nikolai Kharjgard. They had to fly this guy out of Ukraine to do the event this week. He's in the militarized zone. They got him out of there, and he'll be playing this weekend at the Honda Classic. And last up, who else but the swaggiest golfer on tour? Lil Ricky. It's Lil Ricky. Everybody loves some Lil Ricky. So those are my 6. Not quite the same, but damn close. Austin, it's basically me and you are going head-to-head this weekend. It's Ricky Fowler and Nikolai Hogard against your 2 schmucks.
Against Dawie Vanderwalt.
Darwin Van.
All right. Mark, what's up with your lineup?
I just have to say, I was this fucking close to putting Chase Koepka in my lineup earlier when I put it together. I didn't do it, but I was so close. 8,000, I've got Doug Gim. Just played at Riviera, made the cut a couple of weeks ago at the Waste Management. So I'll ride with him at 8,000. I've got to talk about a guy that's due, Doc Redman. This guy was in the hunt at Augusta a couple years ago when Dustin Johnson won it. The guy is due. Sick mullet, sick mustache. That's all you need to know about. Yeah, except American. So better.
Okay.
So Doc Redman, 8,300. And then I've got a Kyung Hoon Lee. He was coming in at 9,200. He's made 8 out of 9 cuts this year, averaging around 80 points an event. Then I got the 3 big guns. I got Billy Horschel, who is my least favorite golfer to watch on tour just because he does this weird little fucking shuffle thing every time he walks up to a putt, and it's so irritating, and I hate it. But he's a psychopath. And whenever he's in a tournament, you know he's going to compete because he is an absolute madman. Good golfer, but the mentality is what brings him over the edge. Then I've got 2 guys. One of them, he's coming over from the European Tour. You know when he comes over here, he wants to win. He's got hair that'll make your girl wetter than a Japanese tsunami in 2005. It's Tommy Fleetwood.
You're really playing the hits out here, huh?
11,400. And then the highest priced player in the entire event, averaging over 100 points a tournament.
Do we suck at golf?
The field is terrible this week.
Yeah.
It's Sung J M.
The straightest shot on tour.
The straightest shot on tour.
All right.
That's my line.
Well, it's time for the big boys to come here. Am I right, everybody? All right. So, as per usual, I went with my normal strategy of like 4 mid-price guys and then 2 higher-price guys. So, Josh, that probably came up on the broadcast. So, good job. We've got...
Are we sure this isn't an After Dark episode?
Starting off 8,600, Hudson Swafford. He's 7-11 on cuts this year. I have no clue who this guy is, but at the $8,600 price point, he was the best golfer available. All right, next up, 9,300 here. 7-9 cuts this year. That's Lucas Glover. That's a name I've heard of. I hear he's okay. Next up, everyone's favorite, but he might be a little underperforming a little bit this year. With only 6-9 cuts, nice, and 64 points per contest. That's CT Pan, 9,500, right? Next up, rounding out my mid-range guys is going to be Mackenzie Hughes. I don't know anything about him, to be candid, but he makes cuts. He averages good points. Solid golfer. My second highest price golfer is coming over from the European Tour. He's got hair that would make your girl wetter than a tsunami in Japan in 2005. And you know that when he comes over from the European Tour, he's here to win. And that's Tommy Fleetwood. His 3rd event of the season. He's made the cuts in both of them. Great golfer, great hair. And then for the brand, my highest price golfer, somehow he's like he's 4th in price this week in the tournament. For the culture, Louis Oosthuizen. Am I right, everybody? Go South Africa. Louis Hazen's winning the whole thing. Tommy Fleetwood 100% rostered in the hot stove contest. We ride or die with the Fleet Man. And that, yes, Josh.
I'm just gonna have to add on, sorry, to my Nikola Hojard pick. The false narrative I created was couldn't be further from the truth. He's a Danish golfer who actually is terrible. He's 20 years old. I think this is his first PGA Tour event. He's won 3 events on the European Tour already, which is, I think that's impressive at 20.
That's good for 20.
But he was just cut from the Old-Timey Classic at the Alhambra Golf Club, and that's a tough course. So no shame in that. Alhambra is given
Where
the
did
best
you
of
even
golf.
get that fake narrative? You even added that he was flown out of a military zone.
You just made up the fact that he was Ukrainian?
Yeah, I mean,
The
I don't know,
name
Nikola.
sounded somewhat Ukrainian.
Current
so-
events. All right, everybody.
Nobody called me on it. I thought I was gonna get some
Yeah,
pushback.
there's only
It
like
was gonna be a
12
moment.
countries in Eastern Europe where the common name of Nikola.
You think any of us know
And
who
he's
this
from-
guy
and
is
he's
to call
from-
you on it?
And the thing is, there are like 12 countries that have that common name. He's not even from one of them.
No, it's Danish.
He's from Denmark.
Yeah.
Or he's from the Netherlands. The Danish are from the Netherlands. My bad.
No, he's from Denmark.
No. They're,
He's
yeah, they're from
Well,
Denmark.
The Netherlands are Dutch.
Dutch.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
No.
Anyways,
No.
anyways, we're gonna move on from this calamity. I got trivia for you today. So this trivia surrounds 2 members who were on the NBA 75 list. As you know, the All-Star game was last night. They did a ceremony at halftime recognizing the members of the NBA 75 list. So I got a question for you. One member of the NBA 75 list is Elvin Hayes. Elvin Hayes was a rookie in 1969. Nice.
Nice.
In that year, when he was a rookie, Elvin Hayes won the scoring title, but did not win Rookie of the Year. I want you to tell me who won Rookie of the Year in 1969. Yes, Josh.
Wes Unseld.
Josh, you are correct. That is Wes Unseld. They were teammates, I believe, if I remember correctly. Right? They both played for the Washington Bullets.
I believe so. Yeah.
Not only did Wes Unseld win Rookie of the Year that year, but you may know Wes Unseld as the one of 2 players in NBA history to win Rookie of the Year and MVP in the same season.
Mm-hmm.
So although Elvin Hayes did not win won the scoring title, Wes Unseld won Rookie of the Year and MVP that year. So
That's how I knew it. I was
good job,
close.
Josh.
Good one, Josh.
It's good
That
to
was
be on
good.
the board.
Hey, that was your 4th point of the year, right? So, all right. It's time to get into the content, baby. And I think this might be Mark's favorite episode. Of the
Easily. This is top 2, and it certainly ain't 2.
pod. We've been cooking this up for a while, honestly. And it started with some conversations that Mark, Austin, and I had, generally speaking. Some deep dives on Baseball Reference. And it ended up conceiving this idea for this podcast. So on today's episode, we're going to talk about our favorite old-timey baseball players. Now, it's important first to establish the parameters of what old-timey is supposed to mean. We decided collectively that in order to be registered as an old-timey baseball player, you had to have started your career before the onset of World War II.
I thought it was ended your career before World War II.
I took it as started.
I also
But-
did, but I don't think I had
okay.
2 guys that crossed over anyways. So yeah, pre-1935. No, 1939. What the hell? When
Yeah.
did
1939.
pre-1939? Yeah, baseball players. I know Mark and I have a top 10. Austin has 9.
I have like 3. I'm telling you, I'm just here for the laughs about your guys. I literally looked up wacky ball players from the 1800s. Quote, like I didn't know where to start. I just don't have the knowledge.
I found a Reddit thread that went through some of the best names from the start of professional baseball all the way up until World War II. It was probably a couple hundred people that were in it. So I had a pretty ample database to pull from. Of course, I didn't share it with anybody because I wanted to keep it for myself. But
yes, of course.
Yeah. So Josh, before we get into our list proper, we're going to start with some honorable mentions anyways. I don't know, Mark, I don't know if you have any honorable mentions.
Yes, I have a few.
Okay. And then Austin, do you actually have a heart out? Or are you going to be here the whole time?
No, I'm going to be here the whole time.
Okay, cool. Then we will just go with your list once we go to the list. But we'll do honorable mentions. Mark and I will do our honorable mentions, and then Josh will give us the few that he felt were worth noting as well. So number one, my first honorable mention, we'll go one by one. I'll do my honorable mentions, then we'll get to Mark, blah, blah. You get the point, right? Mm-hmm. My first honorable mention is a guy, I think he's the only person that I mentioned that's in the Hall of Fame. Okay. And this one is purely on name and the fact that he's in the Hall of Fame. So both of I don't know about you guys, but I considered two things for my list: wacky names and then quality of player. Because I when I got the names that I wanted, I kind of ranked them by how good of a player they were. Like if they were bad, they weren't going to be in like the top 5 of my list. So
I went basically pretty much just on name.
Okay. Austin, what about you?
Mine were kind of like categorized mine. So like my 1 through 3 are the GOATs. My 4 is just a midget. 7 through 9 are the best of the 1800s. And then 5 and 6 are name. So they're not really listed in any specific order, except the GOATs are 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, so you had different categories.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so my first honorable mention was born in 1854 in Rochester, New York. Fun fact. Oh! And Mark knows who it is. That is one of the few winners of the pitching triple crown. One Old Hoss Radburn.
Come on!
Yeah.
My first honorable mention here. Won the pitching triple crown in 1884. Over his 11-year career, started.
Well, I'll say we'll get to Old Hoss.
Okay. Old Hoss Radburn is my first player. I'm sure he's very high on Mark's list.
Yes.
Next player I have, stats are limited because he played in the Negro Leagues. Only thing listed on his baseball reference page is only 1 year, and that's 1920. He was a pitcher as well. So this is almost purely based off name. There is a separate database for Negro League stats that I don't have pulled up at the moment. I should for this player. I think he's the only Negro League player that I have. But that would be a man by the name of Gunboat Thompson. I thought that was a sick name.
What a name.
So Gunboat Thompson needed at least a mention on this podcast. So, Mark, you got a couple of honorable mentions. Let's hear them.
Yeah, my first honorable mention is actually 4 players because there are 4 separate baseball reference pages for these guys. One of their names is just beer, and the other 3 are just beers.
Like, where did you guys get these guys? What?
I'm sorry. I did know about the player named Beer, by the way.
So I saw the player named Beer on a list, and he played 19 games for the Lancaster, what were they called? Lanks in 1910. He was a pitcher. He went 7-9, and there are no other statistics. Now, the first Beers also played in 1910, but he played for the Brandon Angels of the Western Canada League. And he played in 14 games, went 3 for 33, good for an .091 average, all of them singles. Beers number 3 was a pitcher who threw 5 innings and has an RA9, which is run average per 9, but not an ERA. He pitched one game for the Clarksdale Swamp Angels of the Cotton States League. That's probably racially motivated. In 1913. And he gave up 7.2 runs per 9. And then finally, our last Beers played in 1916 for the St. Joseph Drummers, which is an A-ball league or A-ball team. And in 54 games, he hit 180.
Good for him.
Shout out to all of the beer and beers.
If you hit under 200 back in those days, you were like terrible, right?
You
like,
were the worst baseball player.
Everybody hit over 300 back in like the early 90s.
Yeah, if you shot one, oh Jesus. Also, important note here, I think I just found out that white players could play in the Negro League. Is that on me? Was that common knowledge?
I know that.
It was originally because Old Hoss, when I looked him up, looked kind of white. I mean, it's black and white. How the hell would I have known? But Old Hoss
Bradburn was absolutely white. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, he played in the Negro League though. So I was
he
like,
didn't.
Yeah. Nunez said he was in the Negro League.
No, that was Gunboat Thompson.
Oh, what was NL then? I think he did.
National League.
No, not 1890. They didn't have that.
Yeah, there were actually the National League and the American League were two separate baseball leagues that existed back then.
Okay, well, it did spur me to find that the earliest stages of the Negro League consisted of black players taking side with white teammates. I mean, it was all
it was the same as segregation in society, where white people were allowed to do things with black people, but not vice versa.
Yes, that's pretty much. I mean, yeah, I didn't know that.
That's new info to me. But
yeah, me too.
Old Hoss Radburn did not play in the Negro Leagues.
I have two more honorable mentions.
Old Hoss couldn't be caught dead in the Negro Leagues.
I have two more honorable mentions. The first one goes to Liddell Cannonball Titcomb.
Yep.
I saw that name as well.
Played 5 years. Finished his career in Rochester, actually. He was a pitcher. He went 30-29 with a 3.47 ERA, but somehow his WAR was negative 3.4. So shout out to Cannonball Titcomb. And then my last honorable mention is Pickles Dillhofer.
Mark, Pickles Dillhofer is on my list.
So we'll save Pickles. But yes, I had
Pickles.
I had to give Pickles a mention.
All right. Josh, why don't you give us the guys that you thought were worth mentioning?
Well, yeah. So this guy this is a new wonder. I'll save him for last. I just found him after looking out Mark's guy. But so one of the guys I found, this fella died before the Great War. So pretty much just like Walter Hagen, I think. I don't know when he was doing things. Mark, this bit will live on forever. Walter Hagen.
Golf.
This fella's name was George Edward Waddle, but they didn't know him like that. They knew him as Rube, good old Rube Waddle. Mm-hmm. He played. He was elected to the Hall of Fame through the Veterans Committee in 1946, which is, I mean, I think most people who are voting now were voting back then in 1946 for the Baseball Hall of Fame. And his claim to fame for me is basically just being one of the few players I found with a Wikipedia page that was here. But he did also win the Triple Crown in 1905, so that's cool. Good for him, right? Rube is one of my less important ones. Now, one of my go-tos here, I was trying to find a Red Stocking, okay? I have a hat from the Red Stockings. Really wanted to find a player who helped their claim to fame. So I went and found not one of those players, but he led me to none other than George Wright. George Wright was born before the Civil War. He was born in 1847, and in his small 12-year career, he had a WAR of 23. He batted over 300, and he had a slugging percentage just under 4.4. Okay, that's not great, but his OPS 125. So OPS plus, sorry, I should say. His stats actually, now that I look back on it, mediocre. But Georgie Boy Wright, there is no fun fact about him. He's actually just the most plain Jane 1800s ball player you can find. Now to my real name that I just found that was pretty fun from Mark Sky. And I'd be shocked if no one else found Ugly Johnny Dickshot.
I've heard the name, but he's not on my list.
He is on my list.
Ugly Johnny Dickshot was born in 1910. And Mark, is this the guy who only played? Oh no, he did play 6 seasons. He came back. I love the guys who. I mean, this was obviously the war, probably, but left in 39, come back 5 years later, and he's like, "Yeah, just give me the bat. I got this, honey." Hilarious, love it. Johnny, WAR of 2.3. 2.3. He was hardly trying. But he was also, I mean, pretty mediocre. But just great name, one minute.
Johnny Dickshot. All right, so I'm gonna start with my list here.
Damn, I guess once you get one, sorry, they're all here. Also search for, and they're all just here. That's pretty great.
So I'm gonna start with my list here. This player was born in 1884 in Utica, Nebraska.
Probably much better than Utica, New York.
5 professional seasons for 5 different teams.
Nice.
36 career starts on the mound with 297 innings. And a career ERA of 4. You know him, you love him. It's Mysterious Walker. Mysterious Walker played 5 years in 3 different leagues. He played in the American League and the National League. Played with Brooklyn and Cincinnati in the National League, and then played for the Cleveland Indians in the American League. In between that, he did take off a year in 1911. I presume to do some war shit. I don't really know, but he in those 36 starts, he went 7-23. Struck out 143 batters, ERA plus of 79 for the career, with a 1.49 WHIP. So that is Mysterious Walker. Mark, who's your number 10 player?
My number 10 is the guy I mentioned to you guys in the chat. Played 1 professional game. 1. Well, actually, I believe he might have played in the minor leagues. He played 1. Yeah, he played in the minor leagues, but he played 1 game in the major leagues. And that was for the New York Giants in 1905, as made famous in the movie Field of Dreams. Archibald Moonlight Graham. Yes, that is a real person. That Burt Lancaster's character from Field of Dreams is a real person, Archibald Moonlight Graham. So, had to put him at number 10 on the list.
All right. Now we're going to bring in Austin because he's got 9 players. So, Austin, tell me what your first category you're going to start with and give me the first player from that category.
All right, we'll start with I'll keep on this trend. We're going with names for a second. I'll start with my name category. So this will be my 9th ranked player, and that is Peekaboo Veach. His real name was William Walter, but apparently he went by Peekaboo.
So, you know that's got a cancellation story behind it. I call it Peekaboo.
Yes, I can imagine he did some bad things back in 1884 when he played his first season, Peekaboo. But Peekaboo Veach played in 1884, took a couple years off, played again in 1887, took a couple years off and played in 1890, and those were his only 3 years. His career batting average 215. In 1887, he actually batted 0, but he didn't play in very many games. He is. I'm not really sure why he was warranted a nickname because he was worthless. But Peekaboo Veach, ladies and gentlemen.
Shout out. All right. My number 9 player has already been mentioned. Born in 1893 in Cleveland, Ohio. Passed away at the young age of 28 in 1922. played 5 years in the majors with a career .223 batting average. That is Pickles Dillhofer. Pickles Dillhofer played all 5 of his career years in the National League, which is impressive in the early 1900s because there were like 9 trillion baseball leagues around. Played for the Cubs, the Phillies, and the St. Louis Cardinals over the course of his career. Looks like something tragic might have happened because he played in 1921 and then died in February of 1922. So I'm going to look up the cause of his death.
I'm looking it up right now. Wikipedia. Typhoid fever.
I don't know what that is, but
It's
okay.
the natives. It was the Native Americans.
All right. Well, in those 655 career plate appearances, he hit .223, stole 12 bases, had 26 extra base hits, nary of them a home run, and had 48 career RBI, a career OPS plus of 58.
Also, I'll give you the real answer for what typhoid fever is caused by. It's salmonella. So he just didn't salt his meat to store it properly, probably, and it's got some bad chicken.
Damn.
Yeah, that's what
Rest
took
in
him
peace,
out.
Pickles.
Rip
All right.
Pickles.
All right. Mark, who's your number 9 player?
My number 9. This guy was actually pretty good. Born in 1867 in Calvert County, Maryland. Died in Maryland at the age of 45. This is Cupid Childs. Cupid Childs played 13 years in the big leagues, hit .306, OPS plus of 120. Had 1,700 hits, 20 of them were home runs. And the main reason he's on this list is because in 1890, he spent a season with the Syracuse Stars. That's right. Cupid Childs made his bones here in Syracuse. It was his first full season in the big leagues. He played 126 games, .345 average, 2 home runs, and 89 RBIs. So shout out Cupid Childs for being on this list.
All right, Austin, who's your next player?
My number 8 is the second and final name player, and that's someone you guys might have on your list. It is Home Run Baker, a guy known for hitting not very many home runs, but he is called Home Run Baker. He finished his career with just 96 total home runs over the span of 14 seasons played, and his highest season ever was 12 home runs. But he did lead the majors 4 years in a row with 11, 10, 12, and then 9. That was the AL. This was 1911, 12, 13, and 14.
So this was pre-rabbit ball era. Okay.
Yeah, so it's extremely weird to me because he played on the Yankees post Babe Ruth, but they still nicknamed him Home Run Baker for hitting 12 home runs.
It's pre-Babe Ruth.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
What year? 1911?
Same time, isn't it? Well, no, he played on the Yankees in 1921.
Oh, okay. So
so that's with Ruth.
Yeah, Bambino was there, and they're like, "This guy's the home run king."
So they were actively calling this guy Home Run Baker when Babe Ruth was alive and well, coming up the ranks.
To be fair, all of those years were prior to Babe Ruth making his major league debut. He debuted in 1914 at the age of 19. So
that's fair. That's fair.
This guy was the king of home runs before Babe Ruth came around, and they outlawed the spitball, and he hit 54 home runs in 1920. All right.
That's fair. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. This guy also missed 1915. Props to him. He definitely went out and fought in a war or something. Fought in the Great War. Only 1 year though. I'm not really sure.
It was the last.
He probably got injured. No, it was like 1918.
Yeah,
came back. He probably got injured. Who knows? But Home Run Baker makes the list off of name and the fact that he sucked, and nobody wants to admit it.
All right. My next player was he's an all-around guy. Pitcher, outfielder, and third baseman. born in 1855 in Trenton, Ontario, Canada. Made his major league debut in 1878. Let's see here. Had 417 career plate appearances with a 240 batting average. And also, over his 5-year career as a primary pitcher, pitched 676 innings in 78 starts to the tune of a 23-52 record with a 2.98 ERA. This man is the enigmatic, the one known as the only Nolan. That is what
I saw that guy
says. His name is the only Nolan. Like I said, career .4 WAR, 23-52 record as a pitcher, led the league in walks his first year in the majors. Now this is a crazy stat. He led the league in walks his first year in the majors. He started 38 games and pitched 347 innings and led the league in walks with 56. 56 was the most walks in baseball that year.
Just a bunch of free swingers.
I guess. Well, to be fair to him, in those 347 innings, he struck out 125 batters, which is a lot for 1878.
Yeah.
So, career ERA plus of 82, career FIP of 2.61. This guy existed. But let's look at what he did at the plate. The only Nolan, right? His first year in the majors in 1878, true two-way player. Not only did he pitch 350 innings, he also played all 38 of his games in the field as well, with 154 plate appearances that year to the tune of a 243 batting average, 8 extra base hits, nary of them a home run, and 16 RBI, 549 OPS. But he did have a 90 OPS plus that year. And mind you, in 1883 and 1884, because he did take a couple breaks in his career, he had an OPS plus of 126 and 133. Now that's split across 62 plate appearances over those 2 seasons. So, grain of salt. But anywho, the only Nolan.
Pretty good. My next guy is actually like a legend. That born in 1867 in Gilmore, Ohio, died in 1955 in Newcomerstown, Ohio. That is the one, the only Denton True Cyclone Cy Young. People don't give this man enough credit for having a fire name. First of all, his middle name is True. Second, his nickname was Cyclone, which they shortened to Cy, which I think is a shame because Cyclone is a much better nickname. 511 wins, 2.63 ERA, through 7,356 innings in his career.
That's a lot.
It's more than anybody ever. I don't need to tell you, but there's an award named after him. But I would be remiss if I didn't have Denton True Cyclone Young on my list.
All right, Austin, what's your next category? Who's going to be your 7th ranked player?
My 7th ranked player falls into the midget category. So this guy I've mentioned before, he falls into the one one of the stats I love to look up when we do this, and that is 1887 stolen bases. 1887 stolen base leader. He had 138 stolen bases this year. His name is Hugh Nickel, and he is 5'4", 140 pounds. I have no idea how this guy is a pro baseball player, but let me also mention he's only the fourth player in MLB history to ever die in Lafayette, Indiana. What a stat that is! I don't have much other stats of the guy. He was pretty average, actually fairly below average of a hitter. I'm not even sure how he got on base enough to steal 138 times. I mean, he only had it the year he stole 138 bases. He batted 215. It doesn't even make sense. It's almost like he was just stealing 2 bases every time he touched base.
Well, Austin, funnily enough for you, that 1887 stolen bases leaderboard will come up later on my list. So don't worry.
That's all I got to say about the guy. 5'4", 140, playing in a professional sports league, and was somewhat successal. So, congratulations.
So there is one thing else to note about this guy. He was Big Ten born. He went on to coach and was the AD at Purdue University. He's a Boilermaker.
What wasn't he English too?
Yeah, Scottish. He was Scottish.
Yeah.
One of the few not Americans we'll be listing on here. Similar to the only Nolan.
I think he was Sean Payton as well. He resigned from Purdue in 1914 after accusations that the football team played like rowdies. So I think that means that they were just dogging people.
Yeah, I mean, I literally just came off of writing a paper about this very concept. He didn't come up in it. He could have, I guess, if I want to do outside research, but
dangerous football playing in the early
1900s. The concept of amateurism and how it developed through Britain and the United States in the late 18th late 19th and early 20th century into college football. Like the second half of the paper is about the history of college football, basically.
So literally, yeah.
So yes, literally yes. Anyways, my number 7 player, Josh, I appreciate it. You can be our official researcher for the episode as well, if you want to find things that the guys were talking about. My next entry on the list actually goes to 2 players, because I had one written down and I found out that there was another player with the same name who played baseball professionally as well. So first one, he was born in 1870 in Washingtonville, Ohio. Career 294 hitter over 9 years, mostly with, what team did he play for? The Philadelphia Athletics. And his career went until he was 37 years old. His name is Sox Seabold. Shout out to Sox. Now you want to talk about Home Run Baker. Austin, I'll tell you this. Before Home Run Baker came around, Sox Seabold led the league in home runs in 1902 with 16.
Ooh,
a year in which he hit 316. With 97 RBI. He led the league in doubles in 1903 with 45. 45 doubles in 1903. Career 130 OPS plus is Sox Seabold. But when I was looking up his baseball reference page, I came across another person named, born in 1896 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, named Sox Seibold, spelled differently. First Sox was Seybold. This guy is Seibold. Sox Seibold was a pitcher, pitched over 1,000 innings in his career. 135 starts over 8 years. Looks like with the Philadelphia Athletics and the Boston Braves. And over those 1,063 innings, pitched to the tune of a 4.43 ERA. With 48 wins and 85 losses. Also, I'd just like to point out this final stat before you say something, Josh. 1,063 and 2/3 innings, 296 career strikeouts. What were you going to say, Josh?
Tremendous. Just call me Jamie here. I'm getting it all. I'm researching it all here. I think a common thread amongst these old folks is going to be how they died. So in Seabold's case, this is the original Ralph Orlando Seabold here we're talking about, and he was married. His wife was already dead, and then in 1921, it's written this way. I'll read it. Seabold was driving a car when it overturned at a sharp curve on Lincoln Highway east of Jeanette. He was killed instantly. He left an estate valued at $20,000. He was buried next to his wife. I just gotta love how things are written.
Jeez.
Killed instantly. The dream. Living the dream, Ralph.
Yeah, Sox Seibold, not as good as Sox Seabold. A career ERA plus of 91 for Sox Seibold. as opposed to the 130 OPS plus for Sox Seabold. One of them greater than the other one, but I thought it was fascinating that there were two players with the same name here. So, Mark?
Yeah, number 7 for me is one that I just found earlier today, and I had to include. Played 6 years in the majors. Spent most of it with St. Louis. He was a pitcher. 1,600 innings in his career. Went 102-79 with a 2.95 ERA. Pretty solid pitcher. 111 ERA plus. Now I'm just now reading his actual birth name. This is George Washington Jumbo McGinnis. Good old Jumbo McGinnis was born February 22nd, 1854 in St. Louis. So he spent most of his time in St. Louis, played there, grew up there, died there in 1934 at the ripe old age of 80. So no, I don't believe there are any car accidents that killed old Jumbo here. But, I mean, Jumbo McGinnis, this is a guy that it sounds like I go drinking with him on Friday nights. You know, when I hit up Tip Hill here in Syracuse. I'm shocked I've never met a guy named Jumbo McGinnis. But also shout out because his name was George Washington, and I'm just now finding out that fact.
I think you could shout him out too because he's from parts unknown, baby. He might as well be from Death Valley. Places unknown, okay? This guy also, rumor has it, they don't know when he was born. On his death certificate, it has him listed at 1864 was when he was born. Also has him listed as early in some points as 1854. There's a 10-year age range. He's the original machine of baseball.
We also
no one will be able to show.
Also, bats unknown, throws unknown. So we don't know what hand he did anything with. He also played a little bit outfielder.
We are, because he was a talented glass blower. And then, of course, he died of stomach cancer. Because, I mean, was there cancer even around in the 1880s? I mean, did they know to call it cancer? They were like, I don't know, something's wrong with your stomach, dude. Figure it out.
Yeah, they definitely didn't know it was cancer back then. It was called like stomach internal tendonitis or some bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, when was cancer?
Which way is your wand at your stomach?
Cancer dates back to about 3000 BC. Go fuck yourself, Egyptians. Okay, what are we talking about? Really? All right,
let's move on. Austin, what's your next category?
My next category I'm going to go with, it's going to sound a little contrary because we're not at the top 3 yet, but I'm going to go with the GOATs. And one that already has been mentioned tonight, and that is Cy Young. Just off the sheer amount of innings pitched, it is just purely absurd. I'm not sure how that guy had an arm. I ran the calculations earlier. And I've lost them. They're gone. Stay tuned, everybody. Stay tuned. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I've calculated off of pure nonsense that he would have thrown roughly 150,000 pitches professionally. That's just averaging about over 20 pitches per inning. You don't know. I mean, back in the day, they could have been throwing 3 pitches an inning because everyone's just swingers. So that was more based off what we see today. But, who knows? But he's at least thrown 110,000 pitches. I mean, that's just – I don't know how that guy's even – how the longevity on that just doesn't even make sense to me. Throw 100 pitches, I'm sore. I mean, that guy threw 100 pitches a day for 15 years.
All right. Well, next for me, number 6, we're headed back to the Negro Leagues. I was wrong. I had one more. And that is going to be a guy who over 14 seasons hit .311 with 6 home runs and 171 RBI. Partially the name, that is Spotswood Poles, born 1887 in Winchester, Virginia. Career 2,000 plate appearances, 6 home runs for the guy. .391 on base percentage. but only he, like I said, he hit 311, a 387 slug. So his OPS is good for 778, despite his 391 career on base percentage. Does, however, have a 126 OPS plus. So shout out Spotswood Poles.
Spotswood Poles Purple Heart Award winner. My God. Medalist, I guess you could say. My God. He's buried in Arlington.
Wow.
He's a hero. He's a national hero. Also nicknamed the Black Tie Cobb. That's what it says here. That's
cool.
Josh, you might do a little research on this next guy, because when you hear the name, you might not want to believe it, because number 6 is good old Mordecai Three Finger Brown. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This man was a pitcher. He's in the Hall of Fame. Mordecai Three Finger Brown is in the Hall of Fame. Went 239 and 130 in his career with a 2.06 ERA. Now, if I remember correctly, he lost his fingers in like a farming accident when he was a kid.
Yeah, it was fed right into the farm's feed chopper. Yeah, he slipped his hand, was mangled by the knives. It was brutal.
Yeah, absolutely brutal. So what did he do? He learned how to throw the best curveball anyone had ever seen at that point. His whole thing was he had a better curveball than anyone between the years 1903 and 1916. And in his final game as a major leaguer, at the age of 39, he threw 9 innings, gave up 19 hits, 9 earned runs, and struck out 2 guys. But it was a complete game. So one of the best curveballs seen in pre-World War I baseball was by a guy with 3 fingers.
Wow.
Good to know.
It's truly inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Austin, who's next?
My next GOAT, kind of a boring ZZZ snoozer pick here. Most famous for, obviously this is going to be sarcasm what I'm saying, so nobody listen to this. Most famous for hitting a home run at a charity game that was actually a foul ball and tipping his cap and running the bases anyways, because at that point in his career he could do whatever he want. And that was Babe Ruth. He actually did attend many charity games after he retired, in which he was known for just doing whatever the hell he wanted, apparently, and nobody would question him. He apparently hit a nuke that was like 10 feet left of the foul pole, and he just circled the bases, tipped his cap to the huge crowd, and it was a home run on the scoreboard. So, yeah, Babe Ruth, obviously one of the GOATs, and you can't leave him out of the old timers.
Also killed his wife.
Well, that's debatable.
And that's not even debatable. Or sorry, that's debatable.
All right,
we seem to know that
agrees.
a random charity home run went 10 feet left of the foul pole, but we don't know that he killed his wife.
Also allegedly black.
All right. Next up for me, the name isn't all that crazy. He was born in 1850 in Mount Morris, New York. Second baseman and shortstop over 9 years in the majors. That's Ross Barnes. Like I said, doesn't have a crazy name, but what this guy did on the field was truly impeccable. Led the majors in average 3 times with a batting average of 430, 431, and 429 in those 3 seasons.
Wow.
He was a career 360 hitter, bogged down by the fact that his final 2 years in the majors, over 650 plate appearances, he hit a combined 268.
Yeah. You gotta give that up to the Og though.
Yeah, for sure. But before that, led the majors in runs 4 times, led the majors in hits 4 times, led the majors in triples twice, 11 and 14 in 1873 and 1876. Hit 6 career home runs, stole 100 bases. Had 3 seasons with an OPS plus over 200, including the year in which he hit, well, those were all three of his batting title seasons, of course. His best season clearly being 1873, in which he played all 60 games, had 340 plate appearances, and hit 431, had a slash line of 431, 465, 1080. With a OPS plus of 207, led the majors in steals, doubles, hits, triples, runs, and walks in 1873. So shout out to Ross Barnes.
I mean, yeah, how could you not shout out the guy who hit the first home run in National League history?
Wow.
And he died of heart disease in 1915. Just really keeping it up.
Very important facts.
Yep. Can't discredit any of them.
Mark, who's your number 5?
My number 5. He's already been mentioned. That's Ugly Johnny Dickshot.
Yes, dude. I mean, what more is there to say?
Well, I think the craziest thing is that this guy died in 1997.
What? Damn, Johnny Dick was he was living large.
He was 87 years old. He died in his birthplace of Waukegan, Illinois. But Ugly John Oscar Dickshot saw like Ken Griffey Jr. play baseball. This is unreal.
Oh, did you know that actually his skull was fractured by other children throwing bottles at him in his backyard? Like he grew up in the Trailer Park Boys. The bottle kids came around and he lost consciousness for 3 days.
That's called a coma.
Ugly Johnny. He got a bottle to the head. Oh my God.
Jeez. All right. Austin, who's next for you?
All righty. My number was this 4? Number 4, 5. Another GOAT. 5 for me? I thought this was this doesn't matter.
You're right. You're right.
I got a guy who this is allegedly. I'm not very researched on this. I originally had this as Jackie Robinson, but he's not old-timer enough. He started like a couple years after 1940, like 4 or something. So this is Moses Fleetwood Walker, who was actually the first African-American to ever play in a MLB affiliate way back in the day. You know, I mean, in 1884. He played only one season where I'm sure they figured out he was black halfway through and kicked him out of the league. But he was the first black person to play in one of these white folk leagues. So that's a pretty cool piece of history.
Good for him. All right.
Hey, wait a minute.
What's that?
Austin, we mentioned the 1887 Steals leaderboard, right? And what the hell was that guy's name?
Hugh Nickel.
Well, the next guy on this list is on here because I feel bad for him. Born 1860 in West Lebanon, New Hampshire. That is the man who is third all time in a single steals in a season. But unfortunately, he stole his 129 bases in 1887. So in a year in which he put third most steals in Major League history, he finished second. That is Arlie Latham. Arlie Latham played 17 years in the major leagues, including a 4-game stint with the New York Giants in 1909 at the age of 49 years old. A career 269 hitter, stole 742 bases over the course of his 17-year career, and that's not even including the fact that steals weren't recorded for the first 4 years of his career. So this guy stole a shit ton of bases. 27 home runs, 92 career OPS plus. It's just unfortunate that the year where he stole 129 bases, there was one guy who stole more than him. By the way, if you look at the 1887 stolen base leaders, there's like 5 or 6 guys from 1887 in like the top 12.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. People were running free. He did get revenge on old Hugh Nickel, though, because in 1888, the following year, he led the majors in steals with 109. So, good for Arlie Latham. So, Mark, on to you.
Well, my next three before we get to my number one are all strictly based on name. So this first one, we've got a pitcher born April 5th, 1907 in Macon, Georgia. That would be Sugar Kane.
No.
That's right. Sugar
No.
Kane. Played from 1932 to 1938. Played for 3 different teams. He was a pitcher, went 53 and 60 with a 4.83 ERA in his career. He was terrible. Very bad. But his name is Sugar Kane. His birth name is Merritt Patrick Kane, which Merritt also strong first name, but Sugar, icing on the cake. Sugar Kane.
All right, Austin, what's your final category here as we get into the last 3?
All right, my final category is best of the 1800s. And these are guys who led some categories or did some things miraculous in the 1800s. My first guy is Roger Connor. He played all 18 seasons in the 1800s, starting in 1880. And what he was known for is leading all players who played in the 1800s in home runs and triples, with 138 home runs and 233 triples.
How many of those home runs were inside the Parkers?
That's something I'm not sure they even have information on.
I'm sure. That was a rhetorical question.
But I'm guessing at least 90% of them. Actually, he went back-to-back in 1889 and 1890 with an over 500 he had an over 500 slugging. It looks like 10 seasons, in which one season where he didn't win MVP because I'm not even sure they had it in 1890. He had an 1,000 OPS. I mean, this guy was actually seriously good at baseball.
All right.
I like it.
Shout out to him. Also, 138 home runs in 18 seasons in the 1800s. That's impressive.
It's very impressive.
They should have called him Home Run on Connor.
All right, number 3 for me. It's a name entry. Started 73 games over 9 years, 590 innings with a 3.58 ERA and 296 strikeouts in 590 innings. Okay. He was a real K threat. A career 4.5 K per 9. That is a man by the name, born in 1885 in Sanborn, Indiana, Grover Loudermilk. With a name like Loudermilk, you can't not make this list. As per usual with most guys on this list, he really only had 1 year in which he played a lot. And that was 1915, where with 2 different teams, pitched 250 innings with a 3.24 ERA over 34 starts. Went 13 and 18 that year. Career ERA plus of 83, so not very good. But his name was Grover Loudermilk, so shout out to old Grover.
My number 3 is a man that was already mentioned briefly on this list, and so I won't drag this out. It's Mysterious Walker. It's the man from Utica, Nebraska. Just what an all-time name. Since Josh is currently getting his food, I will say he died suddenly from a heart attack at his home in Oak Park, Illinois. He was 73. So good innings for Mysterious Walker. Good innings, something he rarely provided in his career.
Austin, we're down to the final 2. Who is one of your last entries for best of the 1800s?
Now, this is a bit of a cheap one here because it's a combo pack of 2 different players. It is Pud Galvin and Jack Stivitz. Pud Galvin, the most ever complete games at 646 complete games, which is absurd. And his best season coming in 1883 with 72 complete games. Following that in 1884 with 71 complete games, which is unbelievable. But he only had a career 365 wins. So that's, I don't know what to make of that. That means like half of his complete games he was even winning. So he was just out there pitching down 10-3. I mean, you got to bring someone in at that point. And the reason he's paired up is I wanted to pair him up with the pitcher who had the most relief appearances in the 1800s, and that is Jack Stivitz. Jack Stivitz had a career 55 relief appearances in his 11 seasons in the 1800s, and he has the record for most relief appearances. He had 5 career saves.
That was probably the most of the 1800s as well. All right.
Most career relief appearances in the 1800s, 55.
Yes, Josh.
What's going on, guys? Locked ourselves out of the apartment. What's up? We're outside.
God damn it.
We're just gonna chill for a little bit. I'm probably off the episode. Waiting for her mom to drive in from Syracuse. So
Jesus.
we're chilling.
But we can provide some entertainment here. For at least a little bit. We're down to our final couple. Next up for me is a guy born in 1866 in Chicago, Illinois. 361 career innings on the mound, as per usual, mostly dedicated to one season. A career 5.45 ERA. This guy sucked. But his name is Crazy Schmidt. So, and I would like you to look up the baseball reference page for Crazy Schmidt. He looks like an axe murderer. Like I said, career 5.45 ERA, a career negative 4.7, 7 wins, 36 losses. Most of this concentrated in 1899 when he played for the Cleveland Spiders.
Yep.
A year in which he made 19 starts and over 138 innings in those 19 starts, pitched to a 5.86 ERA, and went 2-17. This guy was terrible, but his name was Crazy Schmidt. And how his career ERA plus was only 70 blows my mind. A 1.8 whip.
Oh, gosh.
I looked at his picture. That guy killed numerous people.
Yeah, dude, he looks like he murdered someone. Absolutely.
My number 2, it was hard for me to not make him number 1. This is based on name alone. He only played 41 games in the major leagues, split between 1915 and 16. Hit 162 in those 41 games. Outfielder and pinch hitter, it says on his baseball reference. That's right. Born in 1891. We know him. We love him. Harry Budson Budweiser.
Yes!
Bud
Is that
Weiser.
the name?
Yeah,
That's
the name
how
is
He's
on,
Budweiser?
on baseball reference. His name is Budweiser.
He is the Budweiser.
Now, he received his nickname based on the beer, but his name is still Budweiser. So if his name was Bud Diesel Weiser, that was the only way it could have been better. But yeah, he was terrible. 35 OPS plus. So just god awful, but man, what a name.
All right.
I got
Awesome.
it. I got it. Sorry.
All right.
All right. Bye, Josh. Good luck with everything. Austin, you got one more player for us. Who's going to round it out?
All right. Here's my final player, one of 2 players who died in Toledo, Ohio to make the Hall of Fame.
Do you know who the other one is before you mention this person's name?
Yeah, the other one is Roger Bresnahan.
Sure.
I don't know who he is. This player He's got the combination of the name. He's got a combination of the play. He's got the full package, and that is Candy Cummings. Candy Cummings. The reason I marked him as my favorite old timer, he's got the classic old timer look. One of his pictures looks like a picture, and the other just looks like someone drew a portrait of him because it was so long ago. Of course, he's one of two players to make the Hall of Fame who died in Toledo, Ohio. That was a big part of him making it. But he played 6 years in the majors, and here's a couple stats for you. His career home run per 9 was .05. Now compare that to the active leader Clayton Kershaw at .71. That's 14 times better than Clayton Kershaw. That means he was 14 times the pitcher of Clayton Kershaw. And then the next list, he has the all-time strikeout per walk in a single season at 20.5, in which he pitched a season where he had 82 strikeouts and just 4 walks in 416 innings pitched. That means he gave up 1 walk per roughly 104 innings pitched. This guy was unbelievable. He also led the league in strikeouts that year with 82 in 416 innings. So, he was truly revolutionary. I should also mention in 416 innings, he gave up 0 home runs that entire year. This guy is a living legend. He's got the name, he's got the stats, he's got the Hall of Fame, he's got the death in Toledo. He's got it all.
He's got the death in Toledo. All right, well, I got one more for you. This guy is special. All right. He once held the all-time lead in defensive assists until Germany Smith took it over in 1897. He played the most games at shortstop until 1898. When Germany Smith broke that as well. He also had the career record for putouts until 1898 when Herman Long broke his record.
Oh, I was really hoping it was going to be Germany Smith again.
He also had the record for most double plays until 1900, until Herman Long broke his record. This guy was known. Well, he also had the best fielding percentage in Major League history until Tommy Cochran took over that one in the late 1800s. This guy was known not only as a player who had a career 61.6 WAR over 7,552 plate appearances in 17 years. This guy was actually a good baseball player. Won the batting title in 1890 with batting 336. Career 27 home runs in those 17 years. He was also known as a manager. Managed the Indiana Hoosiers of the National League in 1889 until the team folded with a record of 34, 32, and 1. He did have one tie in there. And then managed the St. Louis Browns in 1892 of the National League until they folded 4 games into his run. Went 1-3 as manager of the St. Louis Browns. You know him. You love him. Born 1857 in Wheeling, West Virginia. That is one and only Jack Glasscock. Now, is a legend around these parts. Like I said, 1,737 total games, scored 1,164 runs in his career.
Good.
290 batter, 827 RBI, stole 372 bases, and steals weren't even accounted for until his 8th year in the majors. They started tracking steals in 1886. He started his career in 1879. Lord knows how many bases he would have stolen had they been taking care of those numbers. Best season was actually not when he won the batting title. He won the batting title, like I mentioned, in 1890 with a 336 batting average. The year before that, in 1839, his age 31 season, he batted 352 Did not win the batting title while batting .352 with 128 runs, 85 RBI, and 57 steals, and 7 home runs. Career 112 OPS plus. Also was hit by 62 pitches in his career, and an important marker of being 35, 35, and 1 as a manager. That is Jack Glasscock, ladies and gentlemen. Did a real good job.
He also was the oldest hitter to ever die in Wheeling, West Virginia. You know,
this is on Baseball Reference, isn't it? Can't you just like look that up?
Yeah. If you go on Baseball Reference and it says died, you click the state at the end of that, and it'll pop up another thing that you can sort by the city in that state. Then you can see how many people died in that city, that state.
That's such a stupid feature. Anyways, that's Jack Glasscock.
We should all know who my number one is. It's one of my favorite baseball players of all time. It's Charlie Old Hoss Radburn.
Of course, the Hall of Famer.
The Hall of Famer. 1884. Now, we know that he was born in Rochester, New York, and died at the age of 42 in Bloomington, Indiana. We'll get more to his later life in a minute. But 1884, for the Providence Grays, the National League champions in 1884.
Mm-hmm.
In 75 games, he started 73 of them, made 2 relief appearances, one of them good for a save. He had 73 complete games. He went 60-12 with a 1.38 ERA.
So this guy was like actually good.
Yes. In 678 2/3 innings pitched. He struck out 441 guys, good for 5.8 strikeouts per 9.
That's a lot of strikeouts.
ERA plus a 205. Now, all the career numbers are there. The guy's in the Hall of Fame. He passed away in Bloomington, Illinois in what year? 1897.
Oh,
1897.
good guess.
One of multiple people, 3 baseball players ever to die in Bloomington, Illinois.
One of 2 people with the last name Radburn to die in Bloomington.
Yes, George Radburn also died in Bloomington. Was he related to Old Hoss?
Were they possibly related?
They
No
must
idea.
be. There's no way they aren't. But anyway, what I really want to talk about is the later life and legacy as listed on Wikipedia by Old Hoss Radburn. After retiring from baseball, Radburn opened up a successful billiard parlor and saloon in Bloomington, Illinois. He was seriously injured in a hunting accident soon after retirement in which he lost an eye and spent most of his remaining years shut up in a back room of the saloon, apparently too ashamed to be seen after the injury. He died later in 1897. It can be assumed that he drank himself to death while sitting in the back of his saloon. But there are 2 things that he is credited with. 1, he is speculated to be the namesake of the Charlie horse. You know when you get that pain in your thigh? Or like if someone hits you just right and you get that shooting pain in your thigh and you say, fuck, I got a Charlie horse. You can thank Charles Old Hoss Radburn for that. And second, Radburn is also known for being the first person photographed gesturing the middle finger. In 1886, an image was captured of him flipping off a member of the New York Giants in a team photo. So you know all those really annoying people that just post selfies in a dirty mirror where they're flipping it off? They can thank Old Hoss Radburn.
Wow.
It's truly incredible storytelling there, Mark. Shout out to Old Hoss Radburn. Shout out to every old son of a bitch we've mentioned in this episode.
Shout out to beer.
Shout out to beer and
Shout out
beers
to
and
beer.
beers and beers.
And
Yeah.
Budweiser.
And Budweiser. Jack Glasscock. Shout out to Arlie Latham. Too bad you couldn't steal as many bases as Hugh Nickel. But yeah,
Wow.
this was fun.
Old Hoss Radburn actually had the third highest WAR of all players to die in Illinois.
Who were the top two?
Rogers Hornsby and Cap Anson.
Interesting. Good to know. Anywho, that does it for this episode of the
Sure.
Hot Stove Podcast. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Hot Stove Pod. That's at Hot Stove Pod on Twitter. Here on the YouTube side, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that jazz. What else? That's about it. Check out the articles that Mark and I talked about in the beginning. Make sure to listen to the radio show next Tuesday, 9 a.m. on WQAQ. For these two, and also Josh, who I hope at some point gets back into that apartment, we will see you next week. Thank you for watching.
Peace.